You wanted the best. You've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hey folks, Voss here from the Chris Voss Show. Ladies and gentlemen, when the air lady sings that makes it official, welcome to the big show. As always, for 16 years, 2,700 episodes, we bring in the Chris Voss Show. 48 new shows a month. Who the hell does that? It's that old. I mean, most shows are walking around with the king these days at 16 years. We're one of the ancient shows, if you will. Anyway, guys, refer the show to your family, friends, and relatives. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss 1 on the TikTok and all those crazy places on the internet.
Opinions expressed by guests on the podcast are solely their own and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the host or the Chris Voss Show. Some guests of the show may be advertising on the podcast, but it is not an endorsement or review of any kind.
You wanted the best. You've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
And as always, we have just amazing authors. We're going to be talking to a very insightful gentleman today. We also have tomorrow, Jason Bourne, The Bourne Revenge, Robert Ludlum's Brian Freeman is returning to the show. So stay tuned for that as well. Without further ado, let's bring on our current guest. Dr. Richard Lee is on the show, and we're going to be talking about his book called The Friend Lee Forrest, an American Adventure in Adverbs and Adjectives, out April 7th, 2024. And I should probably read it because I still don't know what adverbs or adjectives are because I flunked English. That's why I have a podcast. Dr. Richard Lee is a general dentist practicing in Suffolk County, New York. He is also lieutenant colonel in the U.S. Army Reserve, stationed in Shoreham, New York for the last 17 years after serving 4 years in active duty. His son is currently in junior high school in New York City. Will be attending high school next year. Are we trying to get dates for this guy? Is that what we're trying to do here? Brandon was the inspiration. I see what Brandon was the inspiration behind the book initially. And welcome to the show. How are you, Doc?
I'm doing great, Chris. Nice to finally be here with you.
And I'm going to try and call you Rick, as we talked about prior to the show. Okay. So, Rick, give us .coms. Where do you want people to find out more about you on the interwebs?
So it's funny because our book is on Amazon, but we're currently, the work for the website is still in the work. Mm-hmm. So actually my friend is helping design it, so it's taking a little bit longer, but he's almost there. So I don't really have a plug to that right now, but you can find the book on Amazon.
And we'll have a link on the Chris Voss Show. And then when you do get that website up, contact the back end of the Chris Voss Show, and they'll make sure and add that to the post. That way everyone can find you. You got to have those Google links. So give us a 30,000 overview. What's inside this book?
Okay, so as I mentioned, my co-author / son, he was the inspiration behind the book initially. It's funny, I'm kind of glad that we had a little pre-interview before getting on the air to correctly pronounce my last name, our last name, because unfortunately, when you see L-Y, a lot of people automatically, I would say 90% of the people pronounce it Y. And it took many years of correcting people to say it's the same character as Bruce Lee's last name. Oh. It's just, but I was born in Vietnam. It actually, I guess coming out of Vietnam, we just somehow learned to spell things differently. So anyway, it was spelled out Y. More the same character as Bruce Lee, but anyway, so it's a lot of correction. And as I got tired of correcting people through the years, the way I would explain it to them was, well, if you put ly behind, any verb, it would turn into an adverb. So that's how I would explain it to me. I was an adjective. They would turn to adverb. And they were like, oh, okay. So it kind of clicked. I was actually, when I first joined the military, I was a private. So that was when I first started thinking, oh, I was actually privately. It's spelled out correctly.
Privately.
Yeah. I started privately. Now I'm a little higher in rank. That just means I'm older. But anyway, it was, the correction. I actually, as a matter of fact, I have all my custom license plates. Or when I went from extremely to fearlessly to, so there's a bunch of so my patients, even for 10 years, I treated them. And out of nowhere, I'm like, test them. I'm like, you gotta spell my last name. And for some weird reason, some of them don't. They're like, L-E. And I couldn't, I don't even know how they found me initially, but anyway. So I correct them and I'm kind of like, but it was like the thought process was how to explain. And then, obviously because I wasn't born here, I feel like I have a different appreciation for America. Gave my family a second chance, coming out of my parents, went through a lot of struggles so that I'm in front of you now. I can't, honestly, you said you failed English. I would right there with you. That was probably one of my least favorite subjects. If you told me in 9th grade, 10th grade that I would be writing a book, I would have laughed at you and been like, you have got to be kidding. But I feel fortunate because we're in America and I get anything because there were, 20-something, 30, actually I'm 50 now. So it's 30-something years. Here I am, I'm with my son as the inspiration, with our last name as a big part of the inspiration. And we're just trying to kind of like explain the value. A lot of the word adverbs in our book and adjectives are just meaningful words that, affected our lives and how we choose to live our life in America. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the characters in the book are the amazing people that we met along the way. So it's enough.
There you go. There you go. So you've taken, I've had to deal with, my last name is Voss. And so every time you have to give your name to somebody, you have to say Chris, my birth name is Christian. And there's really only one way to spell Christian that I know of. I mean, I suppose you could shorthand it or something, but Christian's Christian. Like, Jesus kind of cemented that whole thing with that Bible.
Sure.
And, but there is still people that they don't know how to spell Christian. They're like, is that with the K? Have you ever met a Christian who's got, is there a K Christian church somewhere that I don't know about? And, and then their favorite thing to do is, I usually tell them Chris Voss. And so I always have to say I learned this from my parents too. This is passed down through generations, I guess, where you have to say, my last name is Voss. V as in Victor, O-S-S as in Sam. And you have to really hit the S's.
Right.
Yeah. Right. And what they'll do is, since my first name is Chris, there's one S at the end and there's two S's on the Voss. They'll put two S's on the Chris and one S on the Voss and some sort of dyslexic. I don't know what it is, but they'll switch them. I don't know about you, but I've never heard of a Chris with two S's.
I've not. I've
never heard. And so I'm just like, what planet are you guys from? And I flunked second grade. That's actually a callback joke. In this book, you've taken, this sort of crippling thing that we have to deal with our names and turned it into a positive, turn it into something that's useful and can work. Who's the protagonist in the book?
So there's actually three main characters. Myself, which Rich Lee is the rabbit. I'm the one that's kind of lost in an adventure. So my son Brandon, he's actually fearlessly. He's the dragon. He's the baby dragon. But my other counterpart was my first dog, Muff. Her name was Muffin, but she was devotedly. So she's the dog. Like I said, I'm a big dog person. So anyway, they're like they're family to me. They're like my little, babies. So anyway, so Muffin was my first dog. She's kind of on an adventure to save me. And along the way, she meets Brandon, who's fearlessly. But anyway, so it's me being lost in life, I think, because sometimes, just to let you know, Chris, this book is somewhat like I said, autobiographical, just from the characters we've met. But it's kind of like some of my internal struggles. It's even though it was intended as a children's book initially to teach about adverbs and adjectives, there's a lot of, values, American values, family values that were instilled in me by my parents. Unfortunately, neither of them are with us anymore, but they like I said, gave us a second chance at life here. So a lot of it is that they're in the book as well, obviously. And it was something that it was very cathartic for me to write this with Brandon because once again, it's honoring our country, the life that we have here. But there's definitely a lot of things we were able to get into the book where it was the journey is really our journey, our family's journey. Even how I got my name Richard, because that was not my given name. Obviously, it was the typical 3 characters. But coming out of Vietnam, I would tell you. So my middle initial is U. Can you guess? In a million years, you would never guess what the U stands for.
I'm sure I wouldn't. Now, is it Vietnam based or is it American based?
It is. So it was kind of like supposed to be like, I guess when they try to enunciate, I guess the Chinese characters. So anyway, so this is how they spelled my name. My name was actually UY-TRI. So how would you pronounce that, Chris? UY. So UY is the first 2, and then a little hyphen. And then capital TRI. Yeah.
You try?
Dude, you would think, right? Actually, the way it's supposed to be pronounced is white tree. Like a white tree. Yeah. Most people obviously get that wrong. Did your parents like
you as a child?
I'm sorry?
Richard, did your parents like you as a child?
Yeah. Somehow I think they loved me a little too much to give me that name. But anyway, it was... We talk about the Lee. Oh my goodness, you go to UYTRI and you're just totally in a different planet, basically, of how to pronounce things. So anyways, once I got my citizenship, I think somewhere in elementary school, I actually chose the name Richard to honor my uncle Richard, who, he was actually a Marine that met my family in Vietnam. And he loved my family so much, he ended up going back after he did his service, just to reunite with my family. Ended up becoming like one of our closest family friends. So even when we immigrated here, he helped to support us, to get us on our feet and stuff. That
is awesome.
And he's still alive, thank goodness, with us. He's down in Virginia, and it's just amazing. So I chose his name because I loved Uncle Richard. He was the cool uncle that shows up every now and then. He had the dog. He had the life of being an American, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I admired him so much, I chose his name.
That's cool. That's cool to the homage to him. Now, did he meet your family during the Vietnam War?
He did. So he was a Marine that served in Vietnam. And he actually met my parents through a mutual friend. But he ended up becoming close with my family. So so it's just kind of, like I said, he's probably as close an uncle as I would imagine in my life, so yeah.
Did your family end up going through, who was the I forget, I don't know what's going on with me today, but
Mao Zedong?
Who was the people who took over after Saigon fell, and they had, the killing fields and all those people? Was your family still in Vietnam during that whole time after the
I'm not sure the dates of what the events that you just described, but I was born in 1975 in February, and it fell to communism about 2 months later on, I think it's April 30th.
Yeah.
So our family was still there for a couple of years. We didn't leave the country until I think it was 1977, 78, kind of that time frame.
Yeah.
And actually, that's kind of an interesting story in itself, because most Vietnamese, they actually left by refugee boats and stuff, right? But my parents actually, my mom in particular, she had heard about all the horror stories of being in the open seas. You don't know how long you're going to be there, and unfortunately, having two toddlers, they were saying that a lot of times they don't make the trip because dehydration, hunger, whatever, famine. And they said if they pass away, they literally just toss the bodies overboard. So those are the stories she heard. So she actually devised a plan for one of her elder siblings, my fourth uncle and his wife, to bring us out of the country. they had already immigrated to Hong Kong at the time.
Oh, wow.
So they
That's
were
good.
able to, we literally were pretending to be their kids in order to get out of the country.
Oh, wow.
And
Wow.
my parents ended up coming out by refugee boat, was picked up by, I believe, Singapore's, their, Coast Guard or whatever.
Yeah.
And they ended up being in the refugee camps. And I want to say maybe a month or two later, they were accepted by America to come over. But we were lucky because we actually had two aunts on my mom's side of the family who had already immigrated over, and they were living in Texas at the time. So,
oh, wow. That's what an amazing story. Yeah. Saigon fell on April 30th, 1975. I'll never forget the picture of the helicopter.
Yeah.
But what an amazing story. Now, what are your first memories? Do you have memories living in that time? Do you have memories doing being on the boat? When did you kind of come of age with your memories?
So, Chris, I mean, that's a great question. So I was only, let's just say, about 2.5 at the time. And honestly, I have no recollection. I have some memories, not too vivid, of being in Hong Kong, after we went out. And it's just just a couple of small memories with a dog or a goldfish. I mean, it wasn't even anything that I could even piece together. My brother is 15 months older than me, and he definitely has a little bit, he always has a better memory than me, but he has a better recollection of some of the events, even though, but he was only maybe 4 at the time. So he didn't really remember that much of it.
Yeah.
But we were fortunate enough to be reunited with our parents in Texas, like maybe 6 months afterwards.
Yeah. I remember it was the regime of the Pol Pot. That's what I was trying to remember.
Okay.
And they had those killing fields and the slaughters that took place and all the horrific things that went on there. So yeah, I'm glad your family escaped that and you guys found a way out. And this is a wonderful immigrant story of people who come to America and love. It's funny. More people I see that immigrate to America, become American citizens, they genuinely love and know more about this country than most average Americans. Like most average Americans, they can't pass the citizenship test.
Right.
I'm not sure I could, really. Serious. I mean, I've studied a lot of history.
I think I would have some trouble nowadays too, but that's sad. But yeah.
Just from memory, I mean, but, they still did teach us history in high school. I don't even know if they teach history anymore, or what kind of history they teach. But it's so good you got out of there. And you've made this book just an homage to your experiences becoming an American citizen and everything else. And it's amazing how much, I've a friend of mine who came from Argentina, and he went through the hell in Argentina when, it was the fascist regime down there and armed people going door to door and violence and killings and everything else. He's up here in America, and people really appreciate what our democracy is, and they value it. I think immigrants value it more than anything else. Yeah. And it's just a shame to me. And it's kind of one of those things where you're spoiled. I've felt spoiled as an American, where I'm just like, this is just normal, but it's not normal. It's very, people will bet their lives to come here. That's how much they believe in the American dream. Absolutely. And also how much they're trying to get away from the hell that is around the earth. So I'm sure where we are in 2025, or 2026, I guess I have to start saying now. Anyway, so is there, are you going to make this a series, or are there going to be some follow-up books maybe to it?
So, as I mentioned before to you, Chris, hopefully, yes. It's already kind of in the works. Getting enough time to dedicate and write is, it takes time, obviously, because anything I do, it has to be obviously meaningful and, detailed. And because we also did the illustrations ourselves, there's a lot involved in creating the characters and stuff. But, but inspiration is a good thing, because there are 2 things that are inspiring the next potential books. One is dentistry, and the other is the military. I had mentioned to you before that those are the 2 careers that I've been fortunate enough to have, that has shaped my life. And I'm the person you are in front of you right now, because a lot of it is because of them. Obviously, my parents, the influence of, knowing how to treat people right and all that stuff, the values. But the careers really allowed me to flourish, I guess, as a person. And anyway, so it's dentistry is definitely on the forefront. We had talked briefly about dental anxieties and stuff. So actually, the dental book is actually now honoring dentistry, because it's actually come a long way, especially technologically, but also like just to keep patients more comfortable and all that. Although it's still most of my patients, I worked for a company for 20 years that the name was Gentle Dental. I think it really like grew, it resonated with patients that have anxiety. They find it's catchy, but more importantly, we try to live up to that aspect of dentistry. And anyway, but they got taken over by Dental 365, which is the company I'm working for now in Suffolk County, Long Island, New York. But yeah, but they hold the same values of trying to keep patients as comfortable as possible. And modern day dentistry definitely isn't the same as what it used to be. Even for myself, I chose to become a dentist. Kind of a lot of it was to appease my mom because she wanted something of a doctor in the family. But some of it was, yeah, exactly. But it's funny because when you're in high school and your mom wants you to be a doctor, all I thought was, you know what? I don't want to deal with life and death. You know what? Being a dentist seems kind of okay.
Yeah.
Maybe I can make a difference in someone else's life. Maybe make the experience not as traumatic, I guess. That's what I had. Because being from immigrant parents, I mean, honestly, oral hygiene was not on the forefront of anything. So sometimes we went to sleep without brushing our teeth. So my baby teeth were horrendous. Honestly, I don't think I even smiled in photos until I was probably maybe late teens, because you kind of learn to conceal your smile when you have, like almost like baby rot on your front teeth, and it just shows the importance of what the image of how people see themselves if there's something wrong with their front teeth, because people see your eyes, they see your teeth, those are kind of two things that stand out when you're talking to someone. And anyway, so I'm fortunate enough to be in a situation where the career I've met the most amazing patients and friends through being a dentist, and also being able to change people's lives, sometimes in one visit, sometimes in multiple visits, but alleviating some of the anxieties and stuff. So the book, the second book, was going to be geared towards hopefully helping people and patients maybe with their dental anxieties. So anyway, yeah.
Now, did you have problems with getting your teeth fixed? You mentioned that there was something you went through. Was it just the exposure of having those bad teeth, or did you have to go to the dentist and do some repair and it wasn't fun?
Yeah, so a lot of teeth pulling. I mean, there definitely was some drilling, because it was back in the day. I don't know if you remember, Chris. You're much younger than I am, anyway. So remember when you smelled everything with there wasn't any water coming out of the handpieces, so literally it permeated the air. Like, so as soon as you walked into the office, it literally smelled like burnt whatever it is, So I just remembered that aspect of it. It was in Chinatown. I was fortunate enough that my parents were able to bring me to a dentist, because somehow I learned a lesson and I was able to take care of my grown-up teeth. But so I was definitely fortunate, because I don't think anybody wants a dentist with no teeth. But it's been, the experience of being a patient back then, I think definitely shaped. Yeah, and I can't even say the dentist was bad. It was just the technology wasn't quite there. There's only so much he could do, I think. Everything was always an experience, and it was, talk about PTSD. Oh my God. Every time I went, it was almost like, it's funny. It was across the street. The dental office was across the street from this beautiful park in Columbus. It was called Columbus Park. And my parents would go shopping, grocery shopping every weekend in Chinatown. But it's funny because every time we walk by the park, and a part of you is like hoping you're going to the park. But honestly, Chris, we never went to the park. It was always to the dentist. And I was like, oh my God, I could still remember seriously, it was horrible. I mean, so you could see the pastel yellow. It was a glass door on the first floor. And the dental office was on the second floor. That got a good look of the park, but we never got to play in the park. So anyway, it was just something that but it ingrained in me that the importance of dentistry, and somehow it made me select that as a career. And I think I was just more lucky than good. It turned out to be something that I really love and value, basically. The person I am is because of that. So.
Well, some things you shape, and I'm glad you made your mom's dream come true of getting a doctor in the thing without, I would,
Thank you.
that would be the toughest thing for me, to be a doctor of, where there's an ER and there's people that are passing away, or a vet. I couldn't be a vet because dogs passing away. Exactly.
So you love animals.
I'm a dog person too. So yeah, and never fun. But and God bless those people that can do that, because without them, you're really screwed. Because if everyone was like me, you know, and then I have a thing about blood too. So I get, so I thank God there are people that can handle that, that can do that job, because I can't. I'm a wuss. So what more do we need to know? I mean, what made you, let's see here. I had a question for you. Did you always dream of publishing a book? Was that a dream of yours?
Never. As I mentioned to you, Chris, years ago, the first time it even became a thought in my mind was one of my patients who actually was an ex-professional wrestler. I was telling him the story similar of how I got to be in front of him, treating him. And when he heard my family's story, he actually said, that's actually kind of a pretty amazing story. So you should kind of consider self-publishing. And it was maybe 15 years ago, I think I met this gentleman and his wife. They were both patients of mine. And they wrote a book, I guess, about his professional career. But anyway, they just mentioned it to me, and it kind of planted that seed of, I guess, I never thought my life was really interesting enough to even consider that. But I guess after talking to him, I'm like, just to maybe, especially after my mom passed away, I felt like it was a way where I could honor my parents. I can never give back to them the way I wish I had a chance to. I was just too young and stupid, I guess, and obviously, like you said, pay homage to our country. And then my son was like the match that lit the thing where, and it's funny, actually, I'll tell you one quick little story. So our book, honestly, it's probably more, it was supposed to be a children's book, but it's more like one of those, Pixar movies. I guess it's kind of has more of that theme, because I was always very inspired, especially the movie Up. I felt like it was it was very uplifting, and I felt sad and uplifting at the same time, because I think it's always the dichotomy of life that makes life, keeps you on your toes, kind of. It's interesting, the ups and downs. You've been probably
I've had one or two
experiences in life, right? I mean,
100 or one or two.
Yeah, exactly. And unfortunately, hopefully more ups and downs. And our book, I'm hoping, is an inspiration for people that don't, maybe just to have a little bit of an appreciation for their own lives. Because I know, obviously, we're lucky, but my parents weren't so lucky, and they were able to dust themselves off and lift themselves up off their bootstraps, is lack of a better term, and rebuild their life, because they actually had a really comfortable life in Vietnam. Meaning, my maternal grandmother had immigrated from China to Vietnam to build a life for his family, became successful, and unfortunately, that was the wrong recipe back then. So everything was taken away. So he was imprisoned along with some of my aunts and uncles, and my dad went for my mom because she was taking care of me and my brother at home. So it was a whole thing, So once, getting back to what you said about the appreciation of our country, I think totally agree with you that sometimes we just don't, as Americans, have that appreciation when they've never experienced, where other people come from, I guess.
Yeah.
There's still a reason why where people want to escape to, I guess. So
yeah. And we, as a country, we have the best conversion rate for immigrants to kind of the American way. I mean, they still bring their traditions and their great food. I love the food.
Sure. Yes, the food is
one of my favorite things in California. Is there's all these like little barrios of here's the Vietnam folks and the Vietnamese folks, and here's this over here, India's over here. You can go to little places in California, and you can just get some of the best foods. And I met some of the most wonderful immigrants in California that they still don't speak a lick of English. They'll come out and they'll be super sweet and nice to you. Thank you for coming into their shop. They're in California. And, but they, you really can't communicate. But you're getting like authentic recipes.
Sure.
You're not getting McDonald's. You're getting authentic Thailand, authentic Vietnamese food, authentic this, that, or the other. And I love that because there's so much, a lot of Chinese food is bastardized here into a kind of Americanism. And I don't think, come my Chinese, I had some Chinese investors one time, and I'm like, Chris, it's not really, we don't do that over there. It's kind of like the Outback Steakhouse in America. Like you say that to an Australian, and they're like, what the hell? Right.
Right.
One is blood, but yeah, I mean, it's such a diversity, and that's what makes America great.
That's what's great
So-
about America, my friend. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
or at least it used to be when we had America. I don't know. It's 2026, and it's getting weird, people. So I don't know. Hopefully, we can continue this 250-year experiment. So as we go out, give people your final pitch. I don't know if you want to plug your dentistry website or services at all.
Yeah, so I work for a company, Dental 365. They're expanding rapidly in the Northeast. As far as I know, they've expanded as far as Ohio,
Wow.
over the last year or two. But yeah, mainly in the Northeast. But like I said, it's actually interesting because it's not your typical. I was a little skeptical initially when they took over right before the pandemic. They they bought out Gentle Dental, and this was back in January of 2020. And I was a little skeptical because I went from a small group practice and I wasn't one of the owners. I was just a general dentist working there, but I loved my bosses. They were, they're friends and mentors of mine. So they gave me an opportunity after my active duty service. So I really appreciated them guiding me in my career. But then when this bigger company took over, it's kind of like you're a little worried because you don't want obviously the quality of care, but also you don't want it to feel like a corporation because obviously with healthcare, it could go in that direction very quickly. And a lot of times, the patients don't get that same feeling, the warm fuzzies, I guess. They already hate dentistry, and now you throw on top of it, it's just like, literally that clinicky feel. But anyway, since they took over, I got to say, I've been 6 years in, I'm pleasantly surprised that they generally care about the well-being of the patients. It's a slightly bigger, thing where the billing and all that stuff is done behind the scenes, but I get to do what I still did with Gentle Dental, treat my patients right, show that, obviously we're there to care for their health, oral health and systemic health. And so I've been very happy. And Dr. Asnes is the one that, the main creator of Dental 365, and he's been very great to me. And so I'm thankful.
Can I ask you something? Because I just got some new toothpaste I'm trying. Is there a toothpaste that you think is really good or the best out there on the marketplace?
Well, it's funny because I use Colgate myself. Even the whitening, I don't necessarily. I mean, so it's nothing super spectacular. I feel like I still would go with the fluoridated toothpaste, even though people have some reservations nowadays. It seems like there's always something that people get concerned about through the years.
Yeah.
So for me, I mean, somehow it's kept my smile okay. So I'm going to stick with what seems to work for me. Although sometimes I use Sensodyne toothpaste, which, some patients might have a little bit of extra sensitivity if you have, it kind of depends on the situation, like root sensitivity, it works very well for that. But I mean, I've used Crest before. I don't find anything wrong with that. It's just almost like a personal preference, but Colgate and Crest, I feel like they've done well for me through the years. So I still have my teeth.
So you're one of the 4 out of the 5 dentists to recommend.
Yes, I am one of the 4.
You're one of the 4.
I'm not the outlier.
What is it? I always like to meet, I've heard that all my life since I was a child. So-and-so toothpaste, 4 out of 5 dentists recommend. They used to do the same thing with Camel Lights too, by the way. 4 out of 5 doctors recommend Camel Lights. I grew up in the 70s. I was born in 68. So smoking was like, geez, that was like
right.
Crazy. It's a wonder I don't have a joke for it. Anyway, but it's kind of interesting. So what's funny is I usually use Colgate Complete. I don't know. Are we getting paid for this plug? Somebody call Colgate and Sensodyne. And I just bought Sensodyne because I just wanted to see how it was. So it's funny. You just, all right, well, good. My teeth will be fine. I just got doctor recommended.
I think you should be good. It might help with some sensitivity.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with sensitivity. I'm just trying to, make up for all the Mountain Dew drinking I did, and the mess smoking and crack. No, I'm just kidding. Never did crack, but drank enough Mountain Dew to basically turn into crack, I think. Anyway, thank you very much for coming on the show, Doc. We really appreciate it, and thank you for paying homage to your story, your journey, and that's what's so great about all the stories we have on the Chris Voss Show. Thank you.
Chris, thank you for listening. I mean, I appreciate, hopefully the friendly forest could help some people. I think it's actually just a quick little touch. I'm sorry. I think you had mentioned that. So just the reason I feel like it could be a little inspirational for people is, so not to give everything away, but so I'm lost in the forest is because going through my life, as lucky as I feel like I've been, I feel like sometimes you always feel like the grass is always greener on the other side. And like you said, it's my going through my own journey. Sometimes you realize that maybe appreciate some of the things you have already in your life versus always chasing the next thing. Because sometimes, unfortunately, in America, what people don't realize is, just looking at your neighbor, coveting your neighbor's stuff. I mean, it's just stuff, right? I mean, value the people in your life. And, I think I saw a commercial that was very meaningful. They said, so obviously, like I said, my character is named Richly, and that's actually my name. But anyway, so I'm the rabbit. But they said, being rich in life is knowing what true value is, I guess, what you value. You could be unfortunately, monetarily the poorest person, but still feel enriched, right? If you're blessed with the people around you, ultimately, that's what we're not going to take it with us. So hopefully it's never as bad, hopefully, as it seems. And I know there are people going through some really horrible things, but hopefully there'll be a brighter day. And that's what an appreciation for what you have, I think, is kind of the gist of the story. And I hope it could help Brandon. I hope it could help get people through some tough times. So, yeah.
Thank you. And thank you for sharing that and trying to lift the world. That's what we try and do with the Chris Voss Show. We try and lift the world.
Thank you, Chris. I could tell that. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really important to us because, there's enough crap in the world that wants to take you down dark rabbit holes of dementia, fantasy, or in reality, or whatever sort of toxic things out there. But thank you for doing that, sharing that journey. We all have a, as we always say on the Chris Voss Show, we're all stewardships of this democracy, each of us, and caretakers of it. It's our job to take care of it, and we're also caretakers of this world to try and lift each other up, and humans being all that sort of good stuff. Give us your .coms one last time as we go out too. I should ask for that.
Oh, so once again, I don't have it yet, but I'll definitely get it to you when it's done. Actually, Chris, before you leave, can I just give, like I said, I kind of mentioned the U.S. Army, but part of the reason I'm in front of you now and having this great career is because I went through an U.S. Army scholarship program. It's called the Health Profession Scholarship Program. So being in the military does not always mean you're out there hurting people. I think my heart is always to help people. So there's so many opportunities of support for our troops, on support roles. I mean, I'm just a general dentist. I'm a dental officer, as I mentioned, in the military, and it's given me an amazing career. 4 years of active service. And once again, it allowed me to be a dentist. And once again, I'm in front of you now because of it. So I actually go to a local junior high school once a year to talk for a career day. And I promote both. And I know the military is not for everyone because obviously it's sacrifice, being away from family and all that. And I've been through that. I've been very fortunate, partially because of the U.S. Army, whether it's active duty or in the reserves. I felt like I was very well taken care of. And yeah, anyway, it's a very proud aspect of my life. And I hope, I know a lot of other people as well, and I've been very fortunate because of it. So I wanted to say that as a last thing.
Thank you for sharing. I mean, these are the beautiful part of the stories. We call stories on the Chris Voss Show the owner's manual to life. And that's how we share stories. I mean, movies, TV, books, just talking, telling stories. I mean, this is a thing that how we learn, how we grow, how we educate each other. There's a lot of people that go through tremendous hard times, and when I hear people that went through, like the journey you went through to come to America and stuff, and I'm sure your parents really felt the stress in that experience of, getting out of the horrors of Pol Pot's, I forget what they call it down there, but it's just the craziness that went on. If you've ever watched the movie The Killing Fields, and getting away from that, surviving, life is a big survival game, really, when it comes down to it. It really is. It's like a survival island. You don't want to get voted off by the Grim Reaper. And so, have an appreciation for what you've talked about and being humble and have gratitude and paying it back is such a wonderful characteristic trait for people to have. So anyway, thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you again, Chris, for having me.
Thank you. Pick up his book, and then we get a .com for your dentistry website. Do you want to give one for that?
You know what? Honestly, I think it's just I'm not sure if it's Go Dental 365 or something like that.
Okay.
It's funny. I'm horrible because I never hardly even go on my own website. But anyway, I'm just, that kind.
Let's see. I have to on our website because it's the people trying to hack the crap out of it. We get assaulted like from all the bad nations. Yeah, they spend all day long trying to take down the Chris Voss show.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's pretty. I mean, it's not just me. It's they're hitting.
Yeah, the cyber stuff is crazy. The cyber attacks are crazy.
I mean, I get a daily report of all the attacks that people try and break the site and stuff. And so I think we pissed off the Chinese once. We had a guy who does like ancient Chinese dance on and I think a little bit of opera and like ballet-ish stuff, but it's like Chinese art. So I'm not sure if I'm giving it the right name, but it's just beautiful. If you ever seen the Chinese, beautiful banners and the colors, it's that, but it's old style pre-communist art that's come from their heritage. And they're here in America, they're banned in China because I guess there's something seditious about the old prior China.
Okay.
And so they constantly attack anybody who's had these people on the show. And
oh my goodness, that's crazy. Something you wouldn't even think about.
Yeah, but Russia loves to attack it. I mean, you name an Eastern Bloc country, we're on their list.
Sure.
But, thank God for defense. But thank God for people like you who celebrate what we do and how we do it.
Thank God for people like you as well, Chris. I appreciate it.
We got to there's enough evil in the world. We got to be the good people. Anyway, thank you very much, Rick. And thanks so much for tuning in. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, linkedin.com/Chris Voss. Book of his book, wherever fine books are sold. The Friend, Lee Forrest.
Thank you, Chris.
American Adventure in Adverbs and Adjectives, out April 7th, 2024. Be good to each other. Stay safe. We'll see you next time.
You listen to the most amazing, intelligent podcast to improve your brain and your life. Or, telling too much of the Chris Voss Show podcast will lead to people thinking you're smarter, younger, irresistible, consume in regularly moderated amounts. She's the worst thing for league.
All right, Rick, that's